the trailblazing author of the Addie series. She took on the challenge of writing a story about a girl around my same age then who had survived the horrors of slavery. She taught generations of children about the brutality of slavery, as well as the strength and bravery of a family determined to make itself whole again. She made me want to tell stories too. A while ago, when I first considered writing this book, I had the chance to talk to Connie Porter on the phone. It was thrilling to speak to a writer who wrote books that I loved so much when I was little. Did she know, I wanted to ask, how important her books were to generations of girls? But before we hung up, Miss Porter said, "Maybe one day, 30 years from now, a girl who read your book will call to tell you she's a writer now. And you know what? I hope to hear from you then." Brit Bennett. Special thanks to the advisors for Claudie's story: Keisha N. Blaine, Marcia Chatelain, Spencer R. Crew, Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham, and Shannon King. In this story, Claudie and her family use the language of their time and place, 1920s Harlem. You will hear the terms colored and Negro used to refer to Black people throughout the story. Although these terms are not appropriate today, they are included in the story as an accurate reflection of how people would have thought and spoken during this time. Chapter 1. Stuck on the Ground. And a 1 and a 2. In the stuffy dance studio, the Harlem Angels twirled as their instructor clapped her hands to keep count. And staggering behind them was poor Claudie Wells, trying to keep up. She had joined her best friend, Nina, at her dance lesson, but Claudie was no dancer. She could barely sway in time to the phonograph in the corner of her parents' room. And the Angels danced in complicated styles: ballet, tap, and even African dance. Today, Miss Zula was teaching a style of dance that she called griotic. A griot, she explained, was a traveling poet or musician in West Africa. "A griot tells stories that keep history alive," said Miss Zula. "Dance is a form of storytelling, too." Claudie liked the idea that stories did not always have to be written in a book. You could tell a story with your voice or your body. But when she danced, she felt too distracted to pay attention to the story at all. She was trying her hardest to keep up with the Angels, worrying that she was just embarrassing herself. "That's all right, Claudie," Miss Zula said. "You'll get it." Miss Zula was endlessly patient, especially with Claudie, who needed more patience than most. There was no such thing as a bad dancer, Miss Zula always said, only an unskilled one. And you could always learn a skill if you practiced enough. Still, Claudie thought she would never be able to dance like Nina. Near the end of class, Claudie sat on the floor beside the other girls while Nina rehearsed her solo. As Nina lifted and leaped, Claudie held her breath. She was amazed each time she watched Nina glide through the air, floating on top of the music. But even as Claudie applauded, she felt a little sad. She hadn't been born with any talent, really. In fact, she didn't think that there was anything special about herself at all. Nothing, at least, that would inspire a crowd to cheer and applaud. There seemed to her to be two types of people in the world: those who flew in the air, and those, like herself, who remained stuck on the ground. After dance class, Claudie hopped on her scooter to meet her father at Angelo's Bakery, where he worked. On any ordinary summer afternoon, she would have felt happy as she zipped along the sidewalk. She loved Harlem in the summertime. She loved riding past ladies in bright dresses, children playing marbles in front of their stoops, a street magician dazzling a small crowd with a card trick on the corner. She loved the rush of air as she zigged and zagged around parked cars and carts, past